Hello DAZN fans and fans of football as well. I am Adam Monk and this is the hottest takes in football right now, which is basically where I'm going to run through three things that people are talking about in football right now and my slightly outlandish takes on them. So yeah, here goes nothing. So, starting with AFCON, the Africa Cup of Nations, ended recently, and on time as well. If you know, you know. But Ivory Coast did win, and my slightly outlandish take on the whole thing is that Ivory Coast this year, 2024, were the most unlikely and improbable winners of an AFCON tournament ever. Why, you ask? Well, simply put, they were down and out several times. Picture of Tyson Fury there against Deontay Wilder, boxing reference, DAZN. I think I'm making a good start. But first and foremost, no side has ever won the tournament having lost 2 games in the tournament. Ivory Coast now have. And what's most impressive is they qualified from their group as the 4th best side out of the sides that finished 3rd. So they were the worst out of the 3rd place finishing sides in the group, which got them through to the knockouts by literally by the skin of their teeth. Oh yeah, and also the little matter of sacking their manager as well, which, you know, you rarely do mid-tournament and end up winning. I think the last one I can think of was Roberto Di Matteo in the Champions League, but again, that was over the course of a season. This, we're talking 2 or 3 weeks. They sacked the manager and still won the tournament. So they won the tournament amidst total chaos. And not only that, but the player who scored the winner in the final, rather fittingly, was Sebastian Haller, who personifies a comeback and facing adversity personally himself, of course, coming back from cancer and then continuing at Borussia Dortmund. So for him to score the winner as well in such an important game typified the entire tournament for Ivory Coast and was a real underdog story in a way. Not saying they had a bad team, they didn't, won the best squads in the tournament, but just total bedlam, and they still won the tournament. So well done, Ivory Coast. Next up, it's time to sit back, relax and pretend we're all Bundesliga experts, because I certainly have been for about 7 days now. Well yes, Bayer Leverkusen. I think they are better domestically than Klopp's Borussia Dortmund side were 10 years back. And the crazy thing is, I don't actually think that's a hot take or a particularly outlandish thing to say, given the fact that last weekend they beat Bayern Munich 3-0 and they're still unbeaten this season domestically. They've only drawn 4 games and won 16, so like it is a ridiculous record. I cannot stress that enough. And just to hammer that point home really, in contrast to the last team who won the Bundesliga who weren't Bayern Munich, that was Klopp's Dortmund. And Klopp's Dortmund drew 6 and lost 3 in that season, which was 11-12, over 10 years ago now. So Alonso's set to beat that record, and consequently Bayer Leverkusen are now the firm favourites to win the Bundesliga title, also considering that they don't have to play Bayern Munich again this season. But I think a misconception about Xabi Alonso this season is that he's built this system with the flying fullbacks by signing young prodigy footballers. That's only somewhat true, because if you look at the signings he's made, some of them have been incredibly shrewd in terms of improving the side. So the likes of Alex Grimaldo, who's 28 years old, and of course Granit Xhaka, who is coming from Arsenal for quite a small fee. These experienced players and cool heads, well, not cool heads in the case of Xhaka, but you know what I mean, experienced players, allow Bayer Leverkusen to play the way that they want to, transitioning quickly and having very little of the ball. If you actually look against Bayern Munich, they had 39% possession, but had 5 more shots. And with all that said now, the evidence is there. Xabi Alonso has got everyone all in this together, really. The players, the coaching staff, the fans, everyone is behind the team now, and I think momentum alone should carry Alonso through to the title. They're breaking records as well. They've scored 55 goals in 21 league games, which is a new club record for Leverkusen. And apart from 2-1 all draws against Stuttgart and Dortmund, and a narrow win against Augsburg as well, they've scored 2 or more goals in every single game that they've played. They also, just to add to that, won 6 out of 6 games in the Europa League group stage as well. So they're just not letting up on any fronts whatsoever. And that's why I say that they're edging Klopp's Dortmund right now. Of course, Klopp's Dortmund had the accolades behind them. Very, very impressive, amazing plays in that Klopp team. He played a new brand of football, really. But Alonso's doing very similar and statistically better in Jurgen Klopp as it stands right now. And I could go on and on and on. They're also scoring late goals as well. Most recently, Palacios in the 94th minute for a 1-0 win against Augsburg. There we go. That was the narrow victory. Just had to memorise that one. And then the week after that, Piero Hincapi. I think I've said that somewhat right. But he scored in the 91st minute to snatch victory against Red Bull Leipzig. And then they did the same in the German Cup a few days later as well. So several last-minute goals, which have actually got them ahead of Bayern Munich on those goals alone. And finally, just to emphasise how rigid and well-drilled Alonso's system is and how rigid and well-drilled it'll be whatever club he goes to, whether that's Liverpool or Bayern Munich or Barcelona, wherever, there's 5 players with 6 or more assists for Leverkusen this season, which means everyone is creating and getting involved and knows when to arrive and play the killer pass. Grimaldo has 9 assists, Florian Wirtz has 8, Victor Boniface has 7, Hoffman and Frimpong both have 6 as well. So that's a hell of a lot of creative output collectively throughout the side. So in short, it's the perfect system. I think Bayer Leverkusen will win the Bundesliga, and it's also why every club, well, bar one obviously, but why every club really wants Xabi Alonso at their team. I'm moving on finally to that team who don't want Xabi Alonso as long as he stays. Phil Foden is on fire and has been the best player in the league this season, all in all, in my humble opinion. Last season for City, when he did play, he was largely deployed out wide, of course, because Ilkay Gundogan was at the club, Kevin De Bruyne was fit throughout the season, and John Stones was as well, who used to come into that pivot from right back as well, of course. This season, though, Gundogan is kicking his feet up in Catalonia, and John Stones and Kevin De Bruyne have been heavily injured throughout the season, which has left a vacancy in the middle, which Phil Foden has taken to with aplomb, which is an understatement. He's absolutely thrived for City this season, and it's particularly because of his instinct and his ability to receive the ball on the turn whilst knowing what players are around him and what his surroundings are. It's his close touch control and his instinct, like I just said, that makes him so proficient in the final third, in tight spaces, on the edge of the D of the penalty area. There is no one in the league better than Phil Foden at catering to that role. And this season, to be honest, he's kind of really hammered home that he's a bit of a unicorn in terms of English players. If you think years gone by, typical English players had a trademark or something that made them atypically English. It's hard to put my finger on, but maybe it was grittiness, good ball striking ability, solid defending, something like that. But Phil Foden can tick all of these boxes. All right, you know, maybe not solid defending. He's not John Terry, but he can trap back. But he does all this whilst looking almost Spanish, hence the nickname Stockport Iniesta. He's also adding more goals to his game now, particularly arriving at the right time in the penalty area and also in tight spaces as well, of course, scoring that hat-trick the other week against Brentford, and all 3 goals were either deft movement or moments where he didn't really have very long to think and he had to be very instinctive, and, well, the first goal, he had to have a snatch at it, really. So he's playing with confidence, he's creating and scoring goals, and it's 25 goals and assists in all competitions for Phil already this season. So, do you know what? I'll actually go a step ahead of what I said at the start of this segment. I think he's front runner to win the Premier League Player of the Year. And there's no reason whatsoever that I'd suggest that, honestly. Anyway, guys, yes, hope you enjoyed the first of these videos. There'll be more to come, hopefully from a studio in Leeds, which will be nice and flashy. Nonetheless, don't forget to subscribe. I've been Adam Monk. Take care. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.